Peace be upon you, Libras. Yes, we're here. We're here. Take a deep breath in. Something is... You still there? Okay. Something is beginning, or supposed to begin, actually. Okay. There's deception. There's lies, deceit, manipulation. But especially when it comes to traveling or movement, someone is promising things that they will not be able to follow through with. Libras, if you are invited someone by a masculine, and it's something that appears as either problematic, something that you kind of put everything else on hold on in order for you to see how this is going to unfold. You are obviously hoping for someone to take charge here or make the decisions or propose, whatever that may mean to you. You yourself have been dishonest in regards to who you are, your intentions, your feelings, your motivations for wanting to go in this direction. And again, if there was another person involved, then again, your intuition was quite on point. You may have been more involved, attached, or passionate. There's desire here. When it comes to a masculine, there is no connection in the heart. The person is definitely not connected to you, whether ideologically, spiritually, energetically. It's definitely not a pure form of love. But to begin with, I don't see reciprocation here. There's no real tie. There's not the golden thread, as we speak of it, even if it's just a temporary cycle, right? A necessary stage, a karmic cycle that you need to go through. You are advised on all accounts here to not make any step in this direction. I'm not kidding. I'm always usually very careful about what I say. Private readings is a different matter altogether. Those are the most difficult and challenging for that reason. Hence why most of people don't even do them, because yeah, there's a lot of responsibility and energy work involved, and it takes a toll on us. Because you see, in real life, generally, as a seer, we would only see specific people that would be guided towards us. And even then, we need to determine their intentions, desires, and current degrees, and determine whether we're allowed to guide them, and in which manner, to which extent, because there are consequences. So karmically speaking, something has been an on and off for you, failed attempts to make something happen or get something going here, and it's not happening. So yeah, there's an open line at the other end, as in someone appears to be available, open, but only if you make the efforts, only if you, but if you were to be honest completely, you can't, and you know it. That's why you're frustrated. You're rather consumed by concerns, worries, and thoughts in regards to how am I going to do this? But at the same time, I cannot be stuck here waiting for something to happen, for the person to follow through, for the person to show up, or to at least speak directly, honestly, on what's to do here, right? Left hand here is the feminine subconscious, right? And the challenge, it's the key in reverse. There is no solution to search for, because this is not a door you're supposed to go through, a cycle, a stage, or a chapter to begin with. Not because it's a painful one, because in many cases, we need to go through these painful cycles, right? We conquer something and move forward, unless we get stuck and then we go over and over again. Different people, same cycles, same patterns. In this case, this feminine has no need to go through. She's conquered something. This is also occult or hidden knowledge. She's strong, she's fiery, she's passionate, she's insightful, has powerful skills of manifestation. She has charisma. She can charm pretty much anyone. And she appears as, well, focused on herself. That's not necessarily something wrong. We shall all have to go through this stage at one point or another. So that's why you're so conflicted. But at the same time, there was this ongoing thing, and you were trying to see what comes out of it. Because in reality, you're very passionate about this person. Well, the person is not coming towards you. It's not what they want. Does that suffice for you? Is that enough for me to tell you someone does not want this? Can you not take it personally? I think you can. I think you can overcome this. I think you can grasp and say, oh, the person does not want this. Oh, I wouldn't want to force anyone, right? Speaking of free choice. But at the same time, she has a tendency, if she gets fixated or stuck, as she did here, right? Because here's that 8 of Wands, here's that Queen of Wands, and here's the 9 of Swords. How can I make this happen? How can I make this happen? How can I make this masculine open their heart? You can't, because in reality, as I was saying speaking of today, okay, we're gonna do this. Don't you worry about it. We're gonna continue with Brother Radu, and we were speaking of the challenge and how he mentioned Yeshua in the desert and how he managed to overcome that, right? The accuser. That's why where there is the Christ consciousness, there will be the antichristic consciousness. And when they appear as the opposite of what they are, right? The morning and the evening star. The Antichrist appears as a figure of light, a spirit that is overwhelming and warm, and it's much like everyone that has had any spiritual experience, that they've encountered that initial beautiful experience, and no, because those who are more advanced and advance on the path, and then they get to see the actual real energies that they came in contact with. And once you get that, the real deal, well, that's gonna shake you up to your core. So in that case, the Antichrist was as you come in human form, duality, the law of duality imposes the existence of both the inner judge and the inner right redeemer. So that's kind of what happened. It was, imagine it as if an expression or manifestation of Yeshua's fallen self, if you want to, shadow self, etc. And when does that come through? At our hardest. So hence why it's described in the famous 40 days in the desert as the desert, right? There's no water. Hence why we say, Omrim Bo, those who are thirsty, come and drink. So Spirit says, come and drink from the spring of waters of life. So that's when faith is tested. You give it. It's not a test for the purpose of harming anyone. It's a test for rather reaffirming something, for you to be able to conquer something that you can truly hold on to as, and set it down as your foundation, your roots, your core principles, beliefs, nature, purpose. But in order for you to feel as if it is firm and it's a truth that you conquered, it has to be challenged. You have to be forged. Through what? Remember we discussed the trial of fire. Now in this case, this feminine has the inner fire, aspects of herself that she's yet to explore and discover. The first step is beautiful. It was expressed in a very painful manner, in the sense that she discovered that she can be extremely passionate, committed, right? But at this point it becomes, depending on what, becomes obsessive. Right? It is obsessive. It's consuming to the point of numbness. If it's not this, then it's going to be nothing. So she's currently not expressing from the positive aspects of the inner fire, or passions, or desires, if you want to. But rather she's holding back, which can lead to frustration and an explosion or implosion, if you want to translate it in her daily life, as antisocial, self-absorbed overall, right? And just because her focus is on something that she cannot have. And I can see why last evening came that powerful phrase, way too overlooked and underrated. that we should all just kind of, remind ourselves every once in a while. So one's character is tested and beliefs for their good, because whatever is good for them leads them to being exactly what they were intended to be. Hence, they will serve whatever purpose they were meant to serve to begin with. So they will be truer to their nature, which is in everyone's benefit. We don't want anyone to try and attempt and be something that they're not, at least not until they've conquered it. At least not until they were willing to choose consciously and were willing to pay for it, and that's what they are, because that's what they conquered. They've reached there organically, and they went through the process like everyone else. So no cheaters. So this is not a cheater. This is someone who's finally exploring and something that's been revealed, such as passions. Right now, they may translate as very toxic, painful, definitely counterproductive. Nothing is being manifested here. Do you see any pentacles? I don't see any pentacles. We see it here, but again, it's related to the feminine. And what we see is a challenging position, whereas she doesn't know. She's not even attempting anymore. It's kind of like at that stage where she say, I'm not even going to try. So what does that mean? If someone thinks that power or solutions or answers lie elsewhere outside of herself, regardless of her potential and her awareness of said potential or nature or current state or will, regardless of that, she decided that power and answers and solutions lie elsewhere, outside of herself. And that's problematic, because that means lack of accountability, self-awareness, therefore responsibility, responsible choices, ability to maintain and cultivate connections and new states of being, and because she's lacking in action, in other words. This feminine is convinced that power lies in someone else's hands, while the someone else, specific someone else, is saying, girl, sister, queen, I'm not your dude, I'm not your guy, I don't care. How else am I supposed to tell you? What do I need to do to make you understand that? For me, you are either it's you or someone else. It's all the same. This is who I am. This is not someone who's hiding what they are. They're deceptive. They have the tongue of a snake, right? As they say, the salesman energy. They have charm and charisma. Speaking of the challenger, it has to manifest as something external to you in order for you to be able to interact within the laws of this reality, whereas you get to conquer something. So it's not the person, it's the spirit that's working through this person that's meant to counterbalance and help you navigate and better reveal and learn to use this new state that you are in, which is fire, passion. If you channel this fire properly, you can forge something that's going to last throughout lifetimes. This is legacy. This is finally you coming into your power. You know you are strong, you're capable. You're just not applying it. Just a logical fallacy here. A shift in perspective would just turn it all around. Because look at this. Reversal. You're standing upright, right? And you're stagnant. You feel as if you're stuck. But you do have this inner awareness subconsciously, again, lower realms here, and the feminine. Whereas you feel as if this is meant for something else. This, whatever it is that I'm feeling. If I redirect it, if it's not useless, it's not supposed to be this painful and this toxic. This is not who I am. It's not going to define. But what can I do with this fire? It's not like I can just pretend it's not there, right? Example, Yeshua did not say you're not real to Shaitan when he came to challenge him, right? The voice of your shadow self, so to speak, right? The accuser. He comes to test and challenge you. He's supposed to do that. And that's your opportunity to discover what is your highest goal and potential, and most importantly, relevant, strictly relevant, relative to your current task. Therefore, how you're supposed to embark on this new stage. So absolutely, it was right for you to stop for a moment. At a conscious level, there don't seem to be any boats on the horizon, no hopes, no real options for you to choose from. And as for this masculine, because it's one, look at this, force, masculine. Fire is a very masculine energy per se. Hence why there's no masculine in your life. There's not supposed to be any. You're already in a masculine energy. Until you conquer and master the use of said element of fire, no masculine can come through, because if they would, this is an element of fire, of air, it would only make you literally burn everything in your way. All that unprocessed and unintegrated traumas, pain, anger, it can really be very dangerous. It's like giving a very powerful tool, though it's obviously on merit. You've reached the state because you went through all the other trials, but you're still yet to at least acknowledge, look at it, this is what I've got, but most importantly, to see it for what it is. This is passion. This is energy. This is fire. It's not mine. It's not, I'm not going to identify myself with it. But this is a powerful tool. I will treat it responsibly. What can I do with it? How can I? And you have to ask, though it's good that you're seeking externally, but look up and say, okay, send me. Now you put me to good use. I'm ready, send me. And I believe that kind of already occurred. And you're now expecting for something to unfold, but you're still trying to control the process. No, it's not going to be related to physical attraction, lust, passion, gluttony, addiction, obsession, all of that. It's not. And even if you were, you're not supposed to define yourself by it, because as long as you do, you're never going to overcome it, are you? So, a real challenge here, the Eight of Wands. This is not something that you can go on by rationally, because I believe you kind of used excuses. And, well, the person kind of gave you something to work on when it comes to how to move, both emotionally and air-wise is emotionally here. Nine of Cups in reverse, Ten of Swords in reverse, is in never taking you, never leaving you. They just left you hanging. But then you went on and justified things, right? And they left that space for you to say, oh, they haven't called me because they were obviously busy, or Hashem forbid, they were, sick and they were struggling with things that are more important and so on, right? But how is it that they're the most important for you? How is that balanced? How is that natural? It's not. And that doesn't mean anything. It simply reveals the fact that this is not meant to be. It doesn't mean that everything you're feeling is for nothing. Everything you went through is for nothing. But it's not for this. If you allow God now to continue to work for you in order for you to continue this journey, explore and discover, then you will be shown ultimately why. And you will never ever question again whether it was worth coming here to begin with, being here to begin with, going for everything that you went through, all of those minor victories, every time you managed to say no when something was unfair, every time you managed to refuse something, even though you needed it so badly, much like Yeshua. Water, do you want water? Yeshua said no. You're going to die of thirst. Yeshua said no. Not from you, right? Not this water. You have no water to give me. What you give me is poison. So say no. So this no that you are being given is by your fallen self, however it's manifested externally. And it's doing you a favor at this stage. They could never really choose for you. You have to be able to say no. In full understanding of what's being actually on the table. What is it in front of you? Who is it that you're dealing with? What kind of a spirit, of what degree? Beyond judgment, just fair assessment. And then based on your own needs and desire, because this is also an energy of assessment, it's also Venus energy, speaking of morning and evening star. There's an upcoming opening for you for some reason. I know it doesn't make sense. It just financial gain from doing something that you actually love. So put those worries on the side. Trust me, I know. You say, yeah, you're completely mad. As in, you're not going to lack anything. Please remove that from your mind. You never lack anything in service. Though, of course, you will lack so many things. But then again, is there anyone in this world that can honestly say, unless they're obviously advanced to that state, whereas they can honestly say, I have everything I need? Only a faithful one can say that. I have everything I need. In the understanding of Hashem never denies anything to anyone, or anything that is supposed to exist for whatever intended purpose they were created for. If a flower is meant to bloom, it will. So about the inner redeemer now, let's talk about it. Where the accusation stands, there stands the redemption. Where the right question stands, there stands the answer. Where the enemy stands, there stands freedom. Opportunity for love. And everyone is kind. If it's comfortable to be kind. Everyone is generous when they have enough to give. It's all in the intention. We cannot sit here and say, well, for example, everyone is selling something. And I was thinking about that because I have a long-term project that it's been just on my mind. I've been guided towards it for so long because my prayers, to be honest, of choice, personally speaking, I try to avoid praying for myself in general. But if I'm ever going to just do worship that is not focused on anyone else intently, just for connection, and not even on whatever self I am struggling with, in my weakness, I go towards the Psalms, and specifically the Psalms of David. So I was thinking, what if I could put them out there for all the others? Then, of course, I don't have the possibility to do so. But I was guided towards having the possibility to do so. I'm curious if you're interested in having them in your home, just pulling one every day. And if you feel called towards it, or whenever you need it, it's just there at your reach, right? Instead of these that are not meant for everyone. The Psalms are for everyone. And anyone, children, anyone, elderly, and you can actually just be guided towards one, and you can access it online. You don't even have to have the book of Psalms. You can access it online, whichever version, if you want to deepen that and connect with the Most High in that way. And I thought it would be nice. So I found a way where I don't have to spend anything because I obviously can't. But I get to create a deck and I would ship it out to whomever wants to purchase it. And obviously, if any earnings, they calculate the price. I don't. It's based on, the design itself and so on. And if any earnings would be remaining off of that, those would go obviously as usual, at least a good part of it, of whatever little may be on it, towards those in need, as it has always been from your donations. Speaking of which, eternally grateful. I've always paid forward and always will, whether I receive or in an obvious manner as I have in this last year, or I don't. Either way, whatever comes, I shall always share it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, as you are guided, though things may not make sense, if you allow it to unfold Father does guide you, through spirit, of course. Does guide you, even where there appear to be no solution. But that means that you don't get to control the process. You don't even get, for example, to allow the ego to tell you, what am I going to do now? How is that fair? Am I going to join the multitude of people that everything they do is they sell something, whether it's ideas, whether it's propaganda, whether it's objects, whether they're selling something. Everybody sells something, and we're sick of it. We're nauseated by it. But then you realize, well, we change the system from within the system. We work with what we've got. What makes the difference? Because the tools are the same for everyone, right? Intentions, or lack thereof in this case. The nature of our hearts. Example, there are so many ministries popping up. Everybody's using the word as a means or tool for self-validation, giving purpose to oneself, making themselves loved and popular, and right? Is that bad? Well, they're putting the word out there. It's not bad. But still, I believe you get what I'm trying to say here, right? If there's any gain for anyone personally in something, then I wouldn't say they're moved by the Holy Spirit, are they? Because they're serving whatever self. Sashu. So, spiritual love and connection with a masculine not happening. Sorry, sister. Brothers, you're full of bull. Whatever it is that you're pursuing, you're not really applying it. It's not really getting fruit to you because the heart is closed. You're trying to aim higher. And there's a reason why for the brothers the heart is closed. There are things that only the feminine can and should tap into. Hence why I'm old school, where I say no such thing as masculine seers. No such thing. Never has been, never should be. Those are prophets, the spirit of prophecy, and that's a different matter altogether. But they usually turn into these preachers that we see all over, or salesmen, all right, which are deceitful, never believed one single iota of what they said or did. Now, the focus is shifting back upon children. You will see a lot of restriction, whereas as parents or guides or teachers, tutors, gardeners, etc., we failed to guide the new generation wherever we made mistakes, then it's going to be up to the system, however you may interpret that, whether it's in a natural sense or we perceive it as very artificial or imposed or forceful. So we're going to perceive the political system itself, right, or the government itself as imposing certain things. For example, should we think of the internet as something terrible? Well, we're here. I mean, that would be ridiculous. But again, intention and how we use things, the same way as this feminine. If she's not careful, she may misuse something that will only, blow up in her face ultimately, if she goes against her given nature and intended purpose, and will harm a lot of other people in the process. Don't worry, nature. Yeah, it got interrupted. It always happens with us here. It's normal. So when she does move, as we were saying, don't worry, it's going to be felt. You cannot ignore her action or any undertaking of hers. When she does decide to make a move, it's going to be known. It's going to be impactful. That's what I'm going to say. It's much like lightning energy when she does act and react. So on one hand, it's good that she was in this state and something appeared to be keeping her blocked. At the same time, she can blast this mountain up. And she knows that. I believe she's kind of careful in regards to that. She's been restraining herself, which is not necessarily good because it may, again, implode. And it's you harming yourself, sisters, at this point if you don't proceed. Now, speaking of restriction and limitation, you may be a force for it. Then again, you may be a forceful karmic force, rather. You can do spiritual energy work in that sense, especially towards the deceitful, the disobedient, the uneducated, the lying, or the ones that have been deceived in one way or another. So, at this point, the children are the priority. The future has to be protected at all costs. It's all that there is to it. So speaking of the internet, back to that, is the internet the issue? Not necessarily, because The internet as the tool needs to be used responsibly. If it were for me, I'm going to be honest, I remember hearing a man in the line at the pharmacy months ago, an old man talking to someone else's children and devices. I would just take them all from them. And it was like, oh, yeah, absolutely. Let's just, absolutely. It sounds ridiculous, but at this point, take the devices from the children. Take them, trash them, make them a bonfire. Give them books. Absolutely. Until, of course, we are willing to be there with them as they use them. And in the process, we ourselves may learn to use them responsibly for their intended purpose. Then our time wouldn't be just wasted and have the tremendous consequences that it had upon our world, but rather would make us flourish and connect and move and learn and interact with a purpose. Once we put the ego on the side and we use things for their intended purpose. Otherwise, we've got keys, but we don't know what to do with them. There's so much knowledge and so many tools out there that they're not being used. And people are stuck. And they will continue to be stuck unless they learn to what? Move, act, choose, use, everything with a purpose. Do it and own it. And move to the next stage. Nothing ever sits still. Nothing stays stuck, right? So, once the heart, as I was saying, the masculine's heart is still closed up, no problem. They're supposed to do something else. There's that other masculine coming through the Ten of Swords, trying to protect, defend, provide, etc. But we have a lot of issues with those that refuse to do so. Then again, it's their choice. Whether you feel you have anything to live, fight, defend for, it's absolutely relevant at a conscience level for you. Because if you want to be a part of the whole, then you're supposed to be able to get the point here. If you are a part of the whole, then you do have something to live for, to protect, to serve someone. It doesn't have to be your child, your mother, your neighbor. You can always assist someone. It's someone else's. Doesn't matter at this point. Suffering is suffering, right? But if we're all gonna be stuck and unable to get over ourselves and stuck on what am I getting out of this? Well, then we're gonna have a problem until we make that shift. So in Kabbalah, that point in the heart that we speak of is when we finally connect with the Creator, in the sense of we are learning to embrace and express more of His nature, which is what? The will to bestow rather than the will to receive. So we bestow for the purpose of, because that's the difference again, the heart, for the purpose of fulfilling the other. Because there's many people giving a lot of things out there, but it's for the purpose of fulfilling oneself. That makes the difference in energy. It will not help the other person. It will not be efficient, and vice versa, right? But real connection is made when you give for their fulfillment, not yours. If you find fulfillment in knowing that you can fulfill other, as the Rabbi said, I believe it was Rabbi Tversky that spoke of, see the others as if they were children, fellow children if you want to, or for the sisters as if they were your children, all and every one of them. Then you would be happy to give them food because you're feeding a child. And in that is fulfilling your nature, your actual real given nature, whether you are aware of it or not. And you'll discover a state of fulfillment that is so different. And it's so real and likened to the actual fulfillment that Father senses every time we are fulfilled. Of course, you're not going to push it down their throat because free choice. Speaking of which, there was someone very wise who chose what would they remove from the world, and it was free choice. Because guess what? We are, as gardeners, allowed to actually administer, if you want to, how someone is able to exert their free choice and to what extent, right? We are our Father's children. Example, would you limit someone who has the intent of harming a child? Would you restrict their will to harm a child? Of course we would. We have. We will. We do. So free choice is completely misunderstood. It's another thing that we are completely misusing, especially those who constantly ask left and right, tell me what to do. Tell me what you know. Tell me, well, how about you for once? Maybe do the opposite and say, let me tell you what I know. Or on the other hand, there are those that are obsessed on telling everyone what they know, but never seeking to actually listen to what the others have. So the exchange factor of it is very important, no matter at which stance you would be at, giving or receiving, because we will do this dance constantly with one another, right? It's important that your intention is always the fulfillment of the other. I have received your kind and precious, precious donations. I know most of you, for example, Sister Chelsea, really wanted to do it so much. You are always in my prayers, beloved. And I didn't mention you because you weren't on Patreon, and you know of my gratitude. And they actually stripped from their own mouth, and they wanted for me to know that they cared as a sister. She wanted that so much. I had to accept it. It was a kind, symbolic gesture that meant so much more than any other amount given by someone who had it freely to give and had no heart to do so, that I had to reimburse, for example. And I'm not upset because of that. It's just a matter of, if they don't give it from the heart, don't accept it. And vice versa. Don't give it if it's not from the heart. Don't say it if it's not from the heart. Even if it sounds terrible, even if it's something that is painful, even as long as you feel as it passes through your heart, that is natural and it's meant to be done or said, and regardless or despite of whatever consequences may have on you, you feel as if it's for the highest good, it stems from truth, and it just works through you, then do it. Otherwise, whenever the self steps in, that's also a problem. So the heart is where Hashem and Father resides. Holy Spirit works through you. It's magnetic, and it works on that attraction, so to speak. And we're guided towards things that we're supposed to help align, balance, correct in some form or of another. And it's usually vice versa, right? So if you're guided towards helping someone, you'd be surprised once you realize how much they've helped